Look back at human history, and you'll find a recurring software bug. Time and time again, civilizations expand rapidly, only to collapse the moment they believe they are completely separate from their environment. We programmed ourselves with a fatal error, the assumption that the leaf is divided from the tree, that the miner is distinct from the mountain, or that humanity operates independently from the earth itself. This diagram shows how even our modern stewardship model carries this bug. It frames the earth as an external object, a fragile globe out there that we need to protect from here. It still assumes we are standing outside the system. Trying to run a global civilization on moral sacrifice and external regulations simply doesn't work. When push comes to shove, ethical guidelines and environmental laws consistently lose out to human convenience. To actually survive our technological adolescence, tinkering with climate policy isn't enough. We have to execute a complete rewrite of our biological hardware. The objective of this rewrite is to physically alter human perception. The goal is to reach a point where the distinction between self and world feels entirely absurd to the person experiencing it. This excerpt captures what that transition looks like. The philosophical concept of non-duality, the idea that everything is interconnected, has to evolve from a spiritual belief into the literal, physical operating system of a technological civilization. The base code for this new operating system actually comes from antiquity. It's rooted in the ancient Upanishadic concept of Tat Twam Asi, which translates to "Thou art that." This code states that the universe is a single, undivided whole. The individual isn't an isolated entity, but an expression of that exact universal being. The critical pivot in human history occurs when we stop treating this as poetic mysticism. Instead, we deploy it directly into our biology as living infrastructure. This schematic shows the first upgrade, permeable embodiment. The vagus nerve complex expands sensory pathways outward, erasing the border between internal and external sensation. People feel ocean pH shifts in their blood. Simultaneously, the brain's default mode network becomes a biospheric receiver. The result is that the concept of I is biologically downgraded. It becomes nothing more than a temporary, localized expression of the planetary mind. That brings us to the second upgrade, karmic feedback loops. It's powered by fusing human neural lace technology with global satellite mycelial networks connecting ecosystems. This creates a direct mechanical loop where actions have immediate physical consequences. If a local watershed is poisoned, you feel that toxicity moving through your own fascia within hours. As this document outlines, this mechanism immediately stops ecological abuse. We don't stop polluting because of new legislation. We stop because polluting the environment triggers direct, unavoidable biological pain in ourselves. To see this operating system in action, we can look at the bioregional city of Swarupa in the year 2072. The city's infrastructure is entirely living. Buildings are grown with photosynthetic skins, and streets are lined with mycelial computing lattices that physically react to the collective emotions of the people living there. When joy surges, the streets bloom. When grief moves through the population, calming aerosols are released. In this environment, childhood education is completely rewired. Children aren't taught that they are breathing the air. They are taught to perceive that the forest is breathing them. Planetary healing is no longer framed as a moral sacrifice. It is simply basic self-care, scaled up to the size of Gaia. You might wonder if this intense interconnectedness leads to spiritual bypassing, using the concept of oneness to ignore actual physical suffering in the world. The difference is in the application. Humans don't transcend the world to escape it. They actively become the world to relieve its suffering. The ultimate proof of this integration is seen at the end of life, in a process called green moksha. Death ceases to be an isolating trauma and becomes a conscious, physical dissolution into living trees via symbiotic fungi. This text highlights that the solution for our civilization was never for humanity to conquer nature. The answer was for non-duality to recognize itself as ecology. The human nervous system and the Earth's nervous system finally align, becoming a perfect, undivided mirror of one another. The successful future of a technological species doesn't lie in escaping the Earth. It lies in the realization that we were always the world's way of experiencing itself.